You're watching India Global. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's start the show with headlines coming in. First up, from AI to nuclear energy, Prime Minister Modi embarks on Paris and United States visits. It's a chance to build on ties, says Prime Minister Modi on his upcoming meeting with President Trump. Prime Minister Modi is all set to co-chair the AI summit with President Macron. Yunus government doubles down on critics' crackdown. Over 1,300 people have been arrested as part of Dhaka's Operation Devil Hunt. Talks collapse between Imran Khan's PTI and Sharif government. Chapter now closed, says Pakistan's opposition leader Omar Ayub Khan. President Trump signs slew of executive orders. He declares 9th of February as Gulf of America Day after renaming the region. Most importantly, he says that he is committed to American ownership of Gaza, which will lead to its rebuilding. And Aero India 2025 takes off. IAF Army chiefs take historic flight as Asia's biggest air show and defense exhibition gets underway in the garden city of Bengaluru. Top story on the show. Ongoing crackdown by Bangladesh's Yunus-led interim government is drawing sharp condemnation from critics, with accusations that the authorities and student leaders are orchestrating a violent, undemocratic witch hunt under the guise of maintaining law and order. The Operation Devil Hunt, launched by Chief Adviser Muhammad Yunus over the weekend, aims to stamp out alleged evil forces that are destabilising the country. The immediate trigger for the operation was an alleged attack on student activists from the anti-discrimination student movement in Ghazipur, where they were reportedly assaulted while trying to prevent looting at an Awami League leader's house. But the government's heavy-handed response, involving widespread arrests and military presence, has only escalated the violence. The attack on activists and the arrest of over 1,000 individuals, mostly from opposition ranks, suggest that this is less about law and order and more about quashing political dissent. As the struggle for power intensifies, it's clear that Dhaka's brutal tactics are under Muhammad Yunus are stirring unrest and not resolving any of that. All right, let's get in Muqtadir Rashid, senior journalist, joining me from Dhaka to talk more about this. Good to have you on the show, Mr. Rashid. Talk to us about the latest that's unfolding in Bangladesh. The fact that 1,300 people have been targeted. Some would say this is a campaign that's coming too late, too little. Tell us how you see the situation on ground.
Definitely, it's a panicky situation for the people, because the Awami League is not a banned party at all. Of course, they have full right to hold some kind of procession or like any kind of the campaign the political party can play. But the context is a bit different right at this point, because the huge anger against the Awami League party right now is high, and their party chairperson or the party top leader Sheikh Hasina somewhat trying to managing lots of kind of conversation with their party member in different fold. But the problem is when she is sitting in a very luxurious bungalow in India, her party member here living, I was just talking to one of Awami League activists. He was telling me that just 6 months, he hasn't met his family members, even he's out of house. So you see the reality here in Bangladesh. In this context, when Dr. Yunus-led.
Who's the devil here? This devil hunt the operation is called. Who's the devil here?
I'm coming to that. So the Dr. Yunus was most respected person in Bangladesh until he became one of the most powerful men in Bangladesh. But the problem is, it's a kind of NGO-led government right now, and running an NGO is so easy for them, but not a country. So Dr. Yunus has yet to announce a roadmap for election, and political parties are now that much curious about the, about the deadline or the schedule for the election. In this time, the Yunus-led government started this crackdown, and they said devil hunt, and which is a very notorious term. Who are the devil? Why they are devil? In which form they are devil? It's the rights activists already raised serious question about this. They say, who are the? Can you say a person a devil? It's like Hutu Tutsi. They you remember in 1940,
Okay.
1994, there's a Hutu Tutsi used to fight, and they call each other cockroach.
You have Khalida Zia's Muqtadir, you have Khalida Zia's BNP saying hold elections and bring law and order. You have Awami League,
Yes.
whoever is left, saying that what happened to the law and order situation, there's complete breakdown. The fact is there's complete collapse, and it couldn't have happened without Muhammad Yunus's complete support. It's come too little and too late. Thank you so much, Muqtadir Rashid, for joining me from Dhaka on that. We're going to come back to you. There's going to be, every day there's going to be something to discuss. But on that note, I'm going to shift focus now away from Bangladesh onto Pakistan, where the political landscape is, well, rapidly spiraling into deeper uncertainty as the once promising talks between the opposition, that's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and the coalition government have officially collapsed. The leader of opposition, Omar Ayub Khan, delivered a stark message on Saturday, declaring that the chapter of talks is now closed. His statement marks the end of the fragile dialogue that had started in December after months of political turmoil following Imran Khan's arrest and imprisonment. Despite 3 rounds of talks, no tangible progress has been made, and PTI is now accusing the government of lacking both goodwill and commitment to talks. PTI's withdrawal from further discussions came after the government failed to form a judicial commission to probe the 9th of May riots and the violent protests that took place in November 2024. What happens going forward when it comes to Pakistan? There's not just uncertainty, but there are also serious questions about whether Pakistan can navigate this storm without further destabilizing whatever is left of its political landscape. Let's get in Imtiaz Gul joining me from Pakistan to talk more about this. And we have Mr. Rajiv Dogra, former ambassador and former consul general to Karachi, joining me. In fact, thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out the time. Mr. Gul, let me start with you, sir. How do you see this fresh face-off between PTI and Sharif government?
Well, actually, it's a face-off between Pakistan's security establishment and Imran Khan. Very often, some critics call it a contest of egos between Imran Khan and the Army Chief General Asim Munir. Having said that, I think the context between, or we can call it the logjam between the two at the moment. Both sides are sticking to their basic stated position. Imran Khan has written 2 open letters to the Army Chief saying that he loves the Army, he likes the Army as the guardian of Pakistan's frontiers, but that the Army should confine its role to the constitutional duty as described in the Constitution of Pakistan. And he's also demanding abolition of cases that were registered against him, as well as a score of party leaders, and the release of political prisoners, including a cancer survivor, the 73-year-old Dr. Yasmin Rashid, who has been languishing in the Lahore jail since August 2023. So these are fundamental issues. Of course, one is also about the electoral fraud that Imran Khan says basically was unprecedented, and it stole the mandate, people's mandate, away from PTI.
Okay.
And what we have at the moment right now is a party that hardly had 15 to 20 seats, but was put in charge of the country's political governance.
Okay, Rajiv Dogra, before I come to the fact that how's India viewing this, as someone who spent so much time in Pakistan, how do you see this situation? Do you see this increasing in terms of turmoil and uncertainty, given that it's now pretty much come down to street fights deciding who will next govern Pakistan?
Well, Mr. Imtiaz Gul would certainly know much better than I do because he's an experienced journalist. But I do recall that in political circles and journalistic circles in Pakistan, they used to say that March is the Shakespearean Ides of March for Pakistan's politics. So we are approaching March, and if that formula is correct, then I think we'll see more turbulence. But let's come to Imran Khan for a moment, because that is your topic. I sometimes get the feeling that Imran Khan has still not got over his cricketing days. He thinks that he's still the captain. Pakistan is a vast cricketing ground for him, and everyone who is assembled there is the spectator that must cheer to every move he makes, even if it is the most outrageous move, whether he is in government or now in opposition and in jail. He feels that he is the commander-in-chief of that cricket field, and no one can contradict him. Unfortunately, there are other politicians who are equally, if not much more experienced, and they feel that now, since they are running the government in Pakistan, they should have their say and full liberty to govern Pakistan as they feel fit. Coming to Imran Khan's current complaint with the army chief that elections were not fair and so on, well, Imran Khan himself is said to have come in with the blessings of the army and their hand on the ballot box.
Okay.
So you cannot have double standards, but that is what Imran Khan
is. That how? Okay, hold your thought there, sir. Let me get an Imtiaz Gul on that. Hold your thought there, sir. On the double standard part that you said, Mr. Gul, how do you read this?
Well, I mean, I think partially these are the comments which are sort of belittling Imran Khan's honesty. He has been very reckless as a prime minister, but that doesn't take away the honesty and compassion, the national spirit from him. And as for the double standards, I think never before in the history of Pakistan was an election stolen the way it has been. And the largest electoral watchdog, FAFIN, just came out with a report coinciding with the 8th February, the day when elections were held in 2024, that there were 230 plus different methods deployed to manipulate, falsify the results, and that's why almost everybody in this country says.
I get what you're saying, Mr. Gul. That's the backdrop and the background to why things have escalated the way they have. It's going to be almost a year. In fact, it's been a year since that election and that stolen mandate, so to say. But a year after these protests that have only intensified and Imran Khan's popularity hasn't been dented, do you see this establishment versus Imran Khan face-off impacting Pakistani society and politics in the long term? And how do you see this ending?
Well, I think as Pakistanis, we are all very concerned that this face-off is impacting Pakistan's politics, Pakistan's economy, with the minimal credibility of the present government and little political stability. So, there is a huge disconnect between the state institutions and the public at large, particularly those who support Imran Khan. So that's why we as Pakistanis only wish that somebody has to blink in the current situation while addressing the fundamental issues, and that is the stolen mandate as well as the bogus, lot of bogus cases that have been registered, instituted against Imran Khan and his leaders.
Mr. Dogra, would you like to come in there, sir? Quick closing comments.
Well, I started with the Ides of March, and I hold my view that, these points, counterpoints in politics in Pakistan and elsewhere in the world are par for the course. And especially in case of Pakistan, it becomes even more acute because there are very extreme divergent opinions and vested interests. Which country, for example, would have tolerated the kind of protests and the kind of almost extreme violence against its own army? as had happened through Imran Khan's
No, there was no extreme violence against the army. Sorry, this is a misnomer.
You know, that is one of the principal reasons why he has this confrontation with the army. So I think that whether one is pro Imran Khan or against Imran Khan, we must face the facts that there is a limit which you should not cross even if you are a popular politician. And Imran Khan consistently has crossed those limits.
Indeed, he has. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to me on India Global. Well, viewers, the bottom line into how things are unfolding in Pakistan is that Imran Khan is playing a high-stakes game, refusing the Sharif government's call for talks. He's convinced that his grip on streets will translate into political power. At least that's the hope. With institutions clumpering, Khan argues the government hasn't even set up a commission for negotiations. He's betting on momentum, and of course, he's also hoping that his old ally Trump is back in the game. But the fact is, military isn't bowing out easily. Expect more showdowns, more chaos, and more protests that could spiral out of control. This political battle is far from over, and no one knows who blinks first, the army or Imran Khan. And on that note, we slip into a very short break on India Global. We come back with more stories on the other side. Stay with us. This is India Global. We now turn our attention to the other big story, which is, dramatic turn of events. President Donald Trump's controversial Gaza proposal has ignited a political firestorm, threatening to derail Saudi-Israeli ties. His plan, aiming to redevelop Gaza and displace over 2 million Palestinians, has enraged the Arab world, strained efforts to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Analysts warn the proposal could deepen anti-American sentiment in Saudi Arabia, which is a key American ally. With tensions escalating, Riyadh's careful diplomatic balancing act faces a critical test. Saudi Arabia's rejection of the plan highlights its unwavering commitment to Palestinian statehood, further complicating any move towards normalizing ties with Israel.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices, but we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished.
David K. Johnston, Professor of Public Policy, joins me from US to talk more about. He's joining me from New York to talk to me about, well, what many would say is a very outrageous proposal. We played out what Mr. Trump said, President Trump said. How do you see this, and what are the chances of something like this going through?
Well, Gauri, first of all, I don't think this will happen. But there is an important story here, and it's the same story in his efforts to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Donald, as I've been warning people for almost a decade, wants to be dictator. He does not believe there are any limits on his power. He has said that. I have the power to do anything I want under the U.S. Constitution, he says, which is absolutely not true. But he's testing here how far he can push and how quickly he can put himself in a position where he alone makes decisions. This weekend, his vice president, former Senator J.D. Vance, said that courts don't have the authority to interfere with any orders President Trump issues. That's simply not true, and that's completely contrary to the constitutional scheme in America. But it's added proof that Donald is trying to become America's first dictator.
Okay, extreme words, extreme thoughts, but Mr. Johnston, let's try and be a little more objective here. Let me ask you this, that if such a proposal were to go through, how do you see that impacting the region and America's ties with some of the key allies?
Well, every single country in the Middle East, other than Israel, has said this would be outrageous. A few of them have called it a war crime. which I think could be an appropriate covering, of taking over land from other people. It would require a significant U.S. military presence for who knows how many decades. And so I don't think it will happen, but it is indicative of Donald's thinking. You know, he says he'll send troops if necessary to take over the Panama Canal, which the U.S. relinquished more than a quarter century ago. He's talked similarly about, he has not ruled out using military force against a NATO ally, Denmark, if he decides to seize Greenland.
Okay, and very quickly as we wrap this up, which is that what about the Israeli relationship in the region? Right now, of course, there's a very strong US-Israel relationship under President Trump, but what could be the long-term impact?
Well, Israel, since its overreaction to the horrible events that Hamas caused, has been making itself into a pariah state. And there are many people looking at this who've used the same term, a pariah state, because of its overreaction and the killing of all the children, women, disabled, etc. And so I think this has the potential to make Israel even more dependent on the U.S., and with another president in the future, if Donald doesn't succeed in becoming dictator, that could be very problematic for Israel. But it will certainly be troublesome for Israel with the rest of the world.
Okay, thanks much, David. The only thing I'm going to disagree and probably tell our viewers is that the 7th of October Hamas attack really started that chain reaction. And yes, it's very difficult to, in fact, say that women, children died when it came to a reaction, but not when that horrific attack took place on the 7th of October. That was
correct. It was
that was inhuman,
attack,
horrific, and really has changed the entire Middle East completely. Thank you so much, David Johnston, for taking out the time. And on that note, well, viewers, before we slip into a break, take a look at these breathtaking visuals from the Aero Show happening in Bengaluru. Welcome back. You're watching India Global. Let's quickly now take a look at the big story that's happening right now, which is the Artificial Intelligence Summit that's unfolding at Paris. India is a co-chair at the summit that is expected to decode, decipher, and probably show the way to the world as far as what will be the future of AI, what will be the solutions that AI can offer, what is the roadmap that Global South can follow when it comes to AI. Well, viewers, if you're tuning in right now, Prime Minister Modi is headed to Paris, and followed by that, he will, of course, be going to the United States. At the Paris summit, leaders are set to decide on the AI governance agenda. Prime Minister Modi is likely to push for global AI norms that will ensure that there are not just a few countries that hold the key to deciding the AI revolution in the world. Let's quickly now get in my colleague, in fact, let's get in Paridhi Bhanot, who's joining us live from Paris to talk to us about what's happening right now, what can be expected, and talk to us, first of all, Paridhi, where exactly are you standing? And let's get those breathtaking visuals on air where Paridhi is.
Hi, Gauri. I am, in fact, standing in front of the Grand Palais, and this is where the AI Summit is unfolding, the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit, as you've just talked about. It's going to be a very interesting 2 days. The summit started earlier today morning. The inauguration took place at 9:30 a.m. Local time. And as the day progresses, of course, there are lots of heads of states that are arriving. In total, there are about over 80 heads of states that are going to be here. But also private companies, Gauri, are going to be here, which is very interesting, because what makes this summit truly special is the fact that it's a partnership between the public as well as the private sector. So all the stakeholders sort of coming onto one single platform to see how AI and how the governance of AI can be taken forward. Now, about the summit itself, I'm going to tell you a little bit. Now, this is the third edition of the Artificial Intelligence Summit that is currently unfolding in Paris. The first two editions took place in 2023 and 2024, respectively, in the UK and in the Republic of Korea. Now, what really makes this summit, Gauri, different from the ones that have already been held is that the focus during this summit is really on the action, is really on what can be done to take forward artificial intelligence technologies. This is in contrast to what the main goals of the summit were when the summit took place. For instance, let's say the first edition of the summit that took place in the UK, the priority there was the safety of AI. The questions that were being asked there is AI going to be safe for the people? Can we really make AI for global good? And that is the departure, really, Gauri, from the first two editions of the summit to the summit now that is being held in Paris, which is action. The question really is, how will AI be governed? How can AI be used for public good? How can AI be used and, in fact, developed in a fashion that is sustainable? So these are really the questions that are being asked here. And by the end of the summit, of course, the challenge is going to be to bring all stakeholders onto one single platform, to be able to bring out a declaration by the end of the summit that can meet the expectations of the public, but also the private. It's very interesting because there's going to be heads of states from some of the leading countries in the world that already have artificial intelligence models that are extremely sophisticated. Of course, there's going to be the Vice President of the United States, Chief Adviser, is going to be here. And other than that, you have Prime Minister Modi, who's arriving later today. You also have the Vice President of China, who's going to be here at the summit, and also private players. So you talk about OpenAI, you talk about Mistral AI, you talk about DeepSeek now. Founders and CEOs of all of these big tech giants, big companies are going to be here at the summit. And so it's really going to be a matter of how the public and the private can see eye to eye.
Okay.
Gauri, let me also take this opportunity. Yes.
Indeed. In fact, Pardeep, we're going to keep coming back to you with those details in terms of how Paris summit could really change and reshape the way the world sees AI, views it in terms of providing solutions, and most importantly, is it going to be available for all? Pardeep, we're going to keep coming back to you for all those updates from Paris. But take a look at this report that answers just that question. How exactly will artificial intelligence change our world?
In every corner of the globe, artificial intelligence is no longer just a buzzword. It's becoming the powerhouse driving industries forward, making processes faster, smarter, and more efficient. From healthcare to transportation, AI is shifting the way businesses operate, unlocking possibilities that once seemed out of reach. But as AI continues to revolutionize industries, the question remains, how will it shape the future of work and impact countries around the world? Take healthcare, for example. AI is already enhancing diagnostics, enabling doctors to spot diseases earlier and more accurately. Algorithms are crunching massive amounts of data, helping professionals predict and prevent health crises, reducing costs and improving patient care. In transportation, autonomous vehicles are pushing boundaries. With AI-powered systems, self-driving cars and trucks are cutting fuel costs, improving safety, and reducing accidents. From traffic management to logistics, AI is streamlining operations, making transportation more efficient while simultaneously addressing sustainability concerns. But what about the people? As AI continues to grow, some fear it will take jobs away, especially in fields like manufacturing. However, many experts believe it will in fact create new roles, ones that will focus on higher level tasks and specialize in skills like problem solving and creativity. It's reshaping the workforce, pushing individuals to adapt and develop expertise in areas where humans still excel. The global landscape is also feeling the impact. While some countries are embracing AI with open arms, others are struggling to keep up. Countries that invest in AI now will likely lead the change in innovation and economic growth. But those that lag behind risk being left in the dust, unable to compete on the world stage. India, in particular, stands to benefit a great deal from AI. With its large pool of tech talent, thriving startup culture, and vast markets, New Delhi is positioned to be a leader in the AI revolution. By leveraging AI in everything from healthcare to manufacturing, India is already reshaping its economy, creating new jobs, and becoming a global powerhouse in AI-driven innovation. Bureau Report, NDTV.
In fact, on that note, let's play out this report that talks about, well, how can India really make the change and transform AI journey for countries around the world. The AI Action Summit in Paris will witness Prime Minister Modi alongside French President Emmanuel Macron, US Vice President J.D. Vance, and Chinese Vice Prime Minister at the helm, shaping conversations that will steer the future of AI development. The summit aims to ensure that AI evolves with an ethical, sustainable, and inclusive approach.
It's a major AI summit, and India would be the co-chair of this summit along with France. India and France, of course, have a deep strategic partnership, as you're aware, and the significance of this visit is that India would be bringing to the table the concerns from the global south, that we would like the AI tools to be safe, to be trustworthy, to be secure, that there should not be any concentration of these tools in a particular geography or in a particular set of corporate sector.
India's participation marks a key turning point in the nation's technological journey as it accelerates towards becoming a leader in the global AI race. With an eye on innovation and progress, India is already adopting AI to better deliver social services, improve public infrastructure, and enhance healthcare services. With a $1.25 billion AI mission and a skilled workforce, India has all it takes to be a global AI leader. This collaboration could open new doors for Indian economy, pushing it further into the realm of tech-enabled manufacturing and next-gen industries. Unlike China, where the DeepSeek's AI models seem to be linked to the state machinery, or OpenAI's ChatGPT models, where profit is the only guiding force, India can create the right balance. Just like its digital public infrastructure, the UPI and the BHIM app, which have now become the backbone for global digital financing models for the global south, India's AI models can create the ideal balance between the two extremes of US and China, one driven only by profit and other primarily meant for state control. As the world fast forwards to the future, India's private sector is showing immense promise. Bhavish Aggarwal's AI entity Krutrim is in advanced stages of creating a supercomputer that could leapfrog India into the supercomputing league. And unlike the Western AI models, India can lead the global south in creating cost-efficient supercomputing that can be replicated by poorer countries around the world. The AI revolution is underway, and as the world barrels down the digital highway, India is firmly in the driver's seat, ready to lead the way. Bureau Report, NDTV. So the AI summit is happening in the backdrop of a massive contest that's pretty much playing out between the ChatGPT model and the DeepSeek model. Which model is going to win and what will be the future of AI? This report tells you.
With just 2 months in, 2025 is already proving to be a blockbuster year for artificial intelligence. From China's DeepSeek to US's ChatGPT and the Stargate project, Beijing and Washington are now vying for influence in yet another arena, AI. Shifting from a chip war, it seems, a US-China battle for AI dominance has begun. On day one, President Trump announced the Stargate project, which would invest an unprecedented $500 billion in developing US AI infrastructure. China hit the AI world with a thunderbolt, a low-cost, low-chip and open-source AI model, DeepSeek.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world.
Yet President Trump didn't take this sitting down, with federal agencies pushing to ban DeepSeek on government devices, citing security concerns. Beijing hit back, calling the move politicization of trade and tech.
中方一贯反对泛化国家安全概念，将经贸科技问题政治化的做法。同时，中方也将坚定维护中国企业的合法权益。
With DeepSeek breaking assumptions about the origins of innovation in powerful AI models, it has reignited questions about Washington's strict chip export controls and how effective can they really be. Yet, beyond this competition lies something more dangerous. Tech and AI is heading towards an unsettling future, where a few companies control AI models, each with their own agenda setting, further polarizing the tech arena. As President Trump reverses most Biden-era policies on regulating AI, protecting against AI-enabled information threats, and tech moguls vie for influence in the political order, US tech policy has become more unpredictable than ever before. This makes the Paris AI Action Summit crucial for stakeholders from across the globe to come together in shaping global AI governance. Disha Bagchi for NDTV.
All right, we slip into a break. Coming up on the other side is an exclusive conversation that NDTV had with the envoy to the AI Summit. Stay tuned for that exclusive with Martin Tisney, who is an envoy at the AI Summit. To talk more about the AI Summit, to talk more about the role that India could play in this and why India could be central to a global AI revolution, let's now get in Martin Tisney, who's one of the envoys of the AI Summit that is set to kickstart in Paris. Mr. Tisney, thanks so much for speaking to NDTV. One of the biggest things that the forum is really trying to do, the summit is really trying to do, is create a global framework for AI to ensure that no country has undue advantage over the others. Let me start by asking you, sir, how crucial do you think this global framework will be for the future of artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much for having me and for asking the question. So I think three things. First of all, it's the first time that we have such a diverse set of stakeholders in the room, and that's hugely exciting. So at the table, we not only have governments, we also have corporates in the private sector from around the world, and we also have civil society from around the world. So I think that it's this multi-stakeholder approach which is critical to the success of the summit. The second one is that the summit not only focuses on the potential harms from artificial intelligence, which was the focus of the first summit in the United Kingdom, it also focuses on the opportunities. So it's really looking at the two sides of the coin here. And I firmly believe that in order to unleash the potential of AI, we need to look at both. We need to look at how we unlock opportunities and at the same time, how we minimize harms. And the third piece is that the summit is based on concrete deliverables, actions. It's the AI Action Summit, and we will be announcing those on Tuesday after the closing session.
Indeed. Indeed. As far as the co-chair of the AI Summit is concerned, India is set to play a very important role. How do you envisage India's role in terms of ensuring that this framework the AI framework is accessible to all and not just to the rich countries who've made early strides?
I think the role that India plays is critical. We very much welcome India's role in the summit and our deep working relationship. And obviously, India plays a key role in the ecosystem, and it's a pleasure to be working with them.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to the India role probably as the summit goes along. But then let me ask you, in terms of the trajectory of AI, where do you see it? Do you see it closer to the profit-led, private sector-enabled model that US is championing? Or do you see that the China model, which is state-controlled and government-led, really having a major role in terms of what will be the future of AI?
So I think the first thing is the future of AI is open. It's not private or public. I firmly believe that it's both. To do this, we need three things. We need to share data. I think that the bottleneck in artificial intelligence increasingly will become data as much as compute, if not more. And when it comes to sharing, accessing data, the state plays a very important role. So that's the first piece. The second one is, in this point of the future being open, I think the open source AI ecosystem is critical. That is an ecosystem that needs support in order to be resilient. And that is an area where both the public and the private spheres play critical roles. And the third one is the participation of citizens. I think that is really important. I'll give you a concrete example when it comes to AI in healthcare and sharing sensitive health data. We need to be working with patient data organizations, for example. And again, that's at the intersection of the public and the private sphere. So I think that it's a combination of both. In order to bend the arc of AI towards the public interest, we need the private sector and the public sector on board. I think in the same vein, as I was saying earlier, our focus here is both on unlocking opportunities and minimizing harms, and our focus is really deeply on working with the public and the private.
Mr. Tisner, you spoke about opportunities at the beginning of this interview. How do we ensure that countries do not miss any opportunities, particularly when it comes to resolving social problems? You know, you're very passionate about cancer, you spoke about that, and also to ensure that there's no fragmentation of public interest AI.
Thank you for asking a good question. I think the fragmentation of the field is one of the challenges that we faced when I started this appointment as thematic envoy a year ago. That was one of my key focuses. And the focus there was, how do we reach scale in these areas? And the conclusion is we need to focus on the enabling environment. We need to focus on the ecosystem before looking at particular projects. And that means three things. It means how we share, access, and make available data sets in ways that are both safe and privacy preserving, how we reinforce the open source AI ecosystem, and how we deeply work with affected communities. I think the three pieces there are critical, and that is something for all countries to work together on and embrace. That's the first one. I think the other one is really for us to be outcomes-led and focused on the problem in order to then see how data and AI can potentially work. So to give you an example that I was talking to one of our key experts about earlier this week, if the focus is on understanding the underlying causes and treating long COVID, the question here that we need to address is a combination, very complex combination of environmental data, genetic data, nutrition data, and in looking at that problem, then seeing how artificial intelligence can help. So I think being problem-centered and hypothesis-focused is super important.
So global leaders are meeting at Paris to try and find collective solutions that AI can enable for nations. How far away are we from government incubating such solutions that can be scaled across the world?
So I think we're close. I see a key role for governments around data. I call that the public interest advantage. You know, money can buy compute, it often can't buy data. And I think we're close. The thing to bear in mind is that a lot of the conversation at a global level to date about artificial intelligence has been around an optimization for artificial general intelligence. So it's been around how it's possible. Many of these firms are focused on how it is possible to achieve a moment when effectively AI can work without human input, right? AI effectively gains a semblance of consciousness. Now, that might be a long time away. What we're focused on at this point, we are focused on the harms and the opportunities, is looking at how, with the tools, the approaches that we have today, we can very concretely help towards solving challenges in health, for example, and in education. And for that, I really don't think we're very far.
Okay. You are one of the envoys of this summit. What are your expectations from this summit, and how do you think the outcomes will really reshape the world's global AI journey?
Look, I'm excited about us focusing on collaboration in artificial intelligence rather than competition. I think we're at a key moment in the AI market. The AI market is shape-shifting. I think what's happened over the past few weeks, and we were expecting this with open models, so the ability to have models that are open, that anyone can use and tool with, I think that's a huge opportunity for the public interest and one to seize. I think the summit comes at this critical juncture where the AI market could go one of two ways. One of them is a real focus around proprietary models, where effectively you're paying to have access to the model, or a focus, an open focus, where the value is in distribution and the value is in services. And this is firmly where I think we can and should be going. So the expectation for me for the summit is that we are bending the arc of artificial intelligence in that direction. And I will really look out in that vein for announcements on Tuesday related to public interest AI. I think we have a big opportunity. We've seen this happen over the past 15 years with social media, and I look forward to a future where for our kids, it is possible to use artificial intelligence in a way that sparks their creativity and sparks their imagination rather than dulls it.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, Mr. Tisne, I have to ask you this question about resources. How big a constraint do you see that for some of the developing countries to really harness AI's full potential?
I firmly believe that the world is not divided between AI givers and AI takers. I think collaboration is the way forward. And one of the key initiatives which we will be announcing, one of the key partnerships we'll be announcing on Tuesday, will be the creation of a financial, a funding vehicle to really enable these public interest partnerships to thrive globally, collectively, between countries, between the private sector, government, and civil society on a very different scale than we've seen to date. So I'm optimistic.
All right. That's always a great note to end the conversation. Thank you so much.